Welcome to Modern Anarchy, the podcast featuring real conversations with conscious objectors to the status quo. I'm your host, Nicole.
I tried to keep her quiet, but she's screaming inside of me. I tried to keep her hiding, oh, shut up. I tried to keep her quiet, but she's a wild, wild woman.
On today's episode, artist Alycia Levels-Moore joins us for a conversation about calling out the seeds of greatness to becoming our highest selves. Together, we talk about the importance of having a supportive community, letting go of the victim mentality, and how things just show up when you set your intention. This is such an incredibly inspiring and empowering conversation that I shared with Alycia that I am so excited to share with all of you dear listeners out there. I see you tuning in each week and I cherish you dearly. I hope this episode is finding you well wherever you might be in the world. And if you have been looking for that extra sign from the universe or that push to take that leap of faith and to pursue your passion, then this is the episode for you. You are going to feel called out and hopefully inspired to actually take that first step in the right direction. Y'all, I hope you enjoy today's episode and tune in. Do you have any questions before we start?
Yeah, so I did a statement and a question. So another external force is I have a 6-month-old, so she's at the building with me while we're painting. So it's a potential for a baby cry, a train. Girl, we're gonna get really real.
I love it.
So that could be a thing, but I'll try to make sure like I give you a signal so you know, like just to kind of pause it so it doesn't interfere. It kind of helps with the editing process. And I made mention of that because she may or may not give me 50 minutes. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, I feel that. I do.
So I wanted to make sure that I would not be like impeding on the flow of how things go, just in case like it, we kind of run into any time interruption there. But yeah, no, I'm good. I guess I know you were saying it's kind of like free flow. So I didn't know if there were any particular themes or anything in particular you wanted to talk about. I know there's like a myriad of things that the podcast covers, but just didn't know if there was a particular kind of track thing, process thing you wanted to talk about, what you wanted to learn, or even just kind of for the podcast, like what are some of the objectives when you think about your listeners that you want them to gain when you're bringing on guests?
Sure. I think it might be easier to answer the objective one first. So I think in terms of objective, and as an artist, right, it always kind of changes for me of how I see it, but I really just want people to see that there are other lenses to life. I think it's really powerful to tap into other people's perspectives on the world and realize that your lens is not the lens. It's part of like what I hope to be, and I hope it to be something that is expansive, right? There's other ways to live life. There's a lot of social conditioning that will tell you this is the way to live, and so I love having people who come on and say, no, I live my life this way and I'm very happy with it. So I love that aspect of it.
Okay.
And then I think part of my hope is that like there's my cat.
Yeah.
Hi, pet cat. She always comes in.
Cat, kids, everybody.
Yes. This is my little baby that will come in whenever she wants.
Yeah.
But yeah, part of my goal too is also to take up less space. And in that, I really like to sit back. And if there's something you specifically would like to talk about, I hold all that space for whatever conversation you want to share with the world.
Got you. Okay. So are there particular questions that you kind of ask to initiate the direction and the flow? You can give me a few of those so I can get my mind right.
Sure. So then how would you introduce yourself?
Okay. Is that a rhetorical question, or you're telling me like that's one of the things you want me to answer it right now?
Yeah, you can answer it. We can go wherever we want. We can I my research is on sex and relationships. So that's where like I have my, clinical expertise in. So if that's what you want to talk about too, like that's always where we can go. I really just, I leave it open. So many people have like so many different identities. I think I would feel bad to be like, this is the identity you're talking about on this space here.
Got you.
So
okay, cool. Well, let's get it jumping, girl. Let's do it.
Sure, let's do it. Let's do it. All right. Well then, introduce yourself. Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Cool. Hi, I am Alycia Levels-Moore. I am all things creative, encouragement, execution. I just believe in, my personal mantra is, I am a champion for dreams and the people that dream them. And so I just love to champion those wild and crazy ideas
Mm.
and visions that you have in your mind. I love to champion those things and help you to get them out in the world because, I believe we have a long life that we can live, but it's still very much limited. And I hate to be in relationship or around people and them not operate at their highest and fullest capacity. So
Mm.
my jam is helping to call out the seeds of greatness in people and get them from where they are to where they want to be.
That's very powerful work. I'm sure you can see, the transformation in people and how they see the world, how they show up in spaces.
For sure, for sure, for sure. I think, all of us, we all have something inside of us, but it really sometimes takes people to come alongside of you and call that out, or just to remind you of who you are. Because like there's things that we for sure know about ourselves, but many times we vacillate, whether it's because of fear, doubt, anxiety, social conditioning, childhood trauma. We respond to opportunities differently, but we all have a desire for more, and so a lot of the like frustration and
Mm.
worry and anxiety, or even like, feeling stagnant in certain parts of your life is not because you don't know what you want to do, it's just that you're too afraid to do it.
Mm.
And so sometimes you need people to just kind of nudge you like, hey, you can do that, right? Like,
Exactly.
like, and let me walk with you, let me help hold you accountable, let me support you, let me remind you of who you are. So yeah, it
Mm.
definitely impacts like how people show up.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I've heard the saying, that you need like one person who really believes in you and you could do
Mhm.
anything, having that
Yeah.
one support system.
Yeah. So it's that thing. So like I like to I'm not the entire system, but I like to be a
Sure.
part of the support. I like to be a part of the journey for people as they're navigating. So that's
Hmm.
my jam, girl. That's
Absolutely,
it.
absolutely. Yeah, I know there's this term in psycho theory, about how
Hmm.
we interact with people, and it's been sticking with me in profound ways, and it's called projective identification. So
Hmm.
it's the thought that like when someone projects onto you who you are, we learn to internalize that and identify with that, which I think when we think about even like trauma, toxic environments, having people say, you're worthless, you're this, you're that. Like part of what is so difficult about those systems and spaces is that we start to internalize that as who we are. And I think this is then the beauty of having someone come in who is on the opposite side, right? Who is building people up, who is encouraging people. And the way that we learn to internalize that is so powerful.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. I never heard of that specific terminology, but it's so interesting because you can see it in every way, regardless like how it's defined. Like, it shows up and it's really mirroring. Even so, I have three
Yes.
girls. I have a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 6-month old.
Mm.
And my girls, it's amazing. Like I feel like we don't give kids enough credit. My 3-year-old, like she literally will watch everything that I do. Like
Mm.
I'll turn around and she's like, "Oh, this is lipstick, mommy," or "Oh, I love," like she'll have my shoes on, like, or I'll hear her talking to her little sister in the same tone that I talk to her. Like, "Hey, didn't I tell you not to do that? Now that is a no." I'm like, "Okay," and so
Yeah.
literally she's looking at everything that I do to help her to figure out how she is to identify with the world. And so I think that's really powerful what you were talking about, just in terms of, we internalize those different things. But the amazing thing about like the human mind and the human body is it can rewire
Yep.
itself, right?
Yep.
And so I think that that's like the power in being able to speak life into somebody, is that you can help to rewire that. And
Yes.
so for me, I think, being air quote called to this work, I think it came from me seeing a need to
Mm.
rewire how I thought about life based upon like the environment that I grew up in, the experiences
Yeah.
that I had. And so I think a part of that, like the initial step was like, okay, I'm not a victim. Let's start there. But right, like let's pull that wire. I'm not a victim.
Powerful.
Like no one gets to control my life. Let's pull that out. No one has more power over what I do, what I become than me. Let's pull that out. And so it's just having to. It's a part of taking back control of your
Yes.
narrative and the things that you desire for yourself. But some of us don't have a lot of capacity for that, or we haven't been exposed to enough things that help us do that. And so, yeah. So yes,
Yeah.
that was really interesting.
Absolutely. I mean, that is so powerful. That shift between the victim mindset and taking control, right? A bad thing happened to me, but I have the power to determine how that affects my life, how I move forward, and how I grow and integrate this. I mean, that is much more powerful than that victim mindset, even though bad things happen.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, and that's layered, right? That's
Yeah,
very layered. It's not a one size fits all type of
sure.
thing. But a personal journey of mine is like, listen, I guess I never wanted to get to the end of my life and point to everybody else for why I didn't do things, right? Because then that
Right,
still leaves me at the mercy of other people,
right. Yeah.
like I still give them so much control
Mm,
over what I do. I'm like,
yes.
listen, you have this window of opportunity. Like, what are you going to do with it? And if what I'm going to do with it is blame everybody else for what I couldn't do, then it's such a waste of
Right,
time and
right.
space. But how empowering and powerful is it to say, hey, you know what, regardless of these things, I'm going to take this and I'm going
Yes,
to flip it. I just believe that
yes.
nothing is wasted on the journey. If any, I learned from it, I grew from it. Okay, I saw what not to do here. Okay, I saw how to interact with people here, or I see how I want to show up and love people, or how I need to learn how to walk in forgiveness, or all these different things. And so I think there's power in just, choosing what you're going to do with what is happening or what has happened to you. And then you put yourself in a position to then help other people, to show them
Yes.
like this is what's
Mm-hmm.
possible. But if you choose to succumb to all the different things, I mean, like, you can't help anybody, because you're too burdened by your own journey. Like, you can't be a
Yes.
conduit to
Yes.
to help support other people.
Absolutely. You just don't even have the space in your own
Mm-mm.
mindset when your
Mm-mm.
whole setting is already on fire. It's hard to help
Mm-hmm.
another person. Absolutely. If you'd be willing to share more about your personal journey, I would love to hear, where this started, the place that you began this journey.
Yeah, it's like a zigzag, right? Like, it's
Yeah.
it's like a straight line, because I think even like just how we're conditioned from high school to college, right? You go to high school, you graduate, you go to college, you're 17, 18 years old, you have not one clue about life, but I want you to make the largest decision and figure out what you're gonna do with the rest of your life. I want you to tell me who you're gonna be. And you're like, I
All of it.
have no clue. Like, I'm just trying to make some money. I really don't want to be at home anymore. Like, I'm trying to go party. Like,
Yes.
and so you're like, I guess I'll close my eyes, point, I'll do that one. And
Yeah.
then you get in and you realize you hate it, but that's like after $100,000 in debt. And then you come
Yes.
out and you're like, I guess I'll go work at H&M, like, cause I don't know, I don't know, like,
Yeah,
I don't know
yeah,
what to
yeah.
do. And so I said all that to say, like, it's such a zigzag
Yeah.
journey, because I think the biggest thing with my journey was just like self-awareness, but then being
Mm.
guided by something that's higher than myself, right? So I'm a believer. I believe in God. And I was literally just talking to a friend before we started our conversation around some different experiences that happened when I was a kid that
Mm.
I couldn't put my finger on until now, or it was like some miraculous type of, moments that really helped me to get here. But I think, I'm a child of seven. So it's seven of us. I have seven brothers and sisters. Well, six, because I'm seven. I'm smack dab in the middle. So it's three ahead of me, three behind me. And so I am one of the most observant people. Like, I was
Mm.
able to kind of look at what happened with the older and what happened with the youngest, right? And so I made a lot of my life decisions just kind of not having to, like, for me, experience wasn't the best teacher. Like, I was like, why do I have to go through that? Like, I'm literally watching other people do it. So I
Right.
was just, I would just kind of watch and observe how things go. And I made this decision to myself early on that I wanted to make really, really good decisions, because I
Mm.
saw that had an impact on the quality of life, like having thoughtful decision making skills.
Yes.
And so I think just being aware, being really spiritually in tune, and being committed to myself. Like, I was committed to, like, growing up, not having a whole lot. Parents, though, I know they did the absolute best they can do. Right now, on the other
Yes.
side of adulthood, like, you give way more grace. Like, but I was like, this is not it for me, though. Like, I'm just like, this is too hard. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I want to spend my time, like, enjoy, not in scarcity. I want to be able to spend my time thinking about the things that I want to do. And so, just making a decision like, hey, like this is my life. I think even it was so crazy. I go to therapy, girl. I advocate for therapy.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And I started to be able to make a timeline at around like 10 or 12 years old. I was like, okay, cool. This is my life. No one's gonna come save me. I don't know where
Wow, yeah.
I started making these decisions early on about how I was going to show up and what I was going to do. But I think early on in college, a little bit after college, I started going to this church, and they were reading this scripture, and it was talking about one of the people in the Bible's name is Barnabas. And so his name literally means encouragement. Encourager. And he was like a super close friend to the Apostle Paul. And Paul was like somebody who was like, listen, I'm not with all this stuff. He was like, crucifying and persecuting like Christians and believers and stuff like that. But then he got this word where it was like, hey, you know what? That's not who you are. You need to change, and you need to bring more people on, like to really understand and to come into the things of God. And so Paul, like being someone who low key was like a murderer, was like, how am I supposed to do that? Like, these people are afraid of me. Like, I literally was like going through like killing folks. And so Barnabas came alongside of him and encouraged him and helped him to like walk out this new identity. And without Barnabas, it would have been really hard for Paul to do it, because it was so much he had to battle with. He had to switch identities. Like, I used to be this person, now I'm this person. I literally feel like I can't do this because people are afraid of me. There's some different things I'm working through, but he had this really close friend whose name was encouragement to keep him along the journey. I didn't realize that was even a thing, right? Because I had never even like read the Bible. So I didn't know what I knew some of the stories, but I didn't know it was a thing. And so I remember hearing this message about there's different gifts that we're all given, right? So if you are to teach. Some people have like this servant gift. They love to serve. They love to volunteer. You can count on them to be at a food pantry, book bag giveaway. I mean, like, you don't, no second guesses, right? Some people, they are amazing at teaching. Like, they can just tell you something, and it's like, how did you? I get it, And another part of that scripture was, if it is to encourage. And when I was I never knew that encouragement was like a gift. It was a thing. But I did know, like, I was always the friend that everybody wanted to talk to. Like, how like you have those friends where it's like, you're like, why everyone I'm like, Oprah, am I, what's going on, and so I used to I really sometimes would get like irritated by it. Cause I'm like, why does everybody want to talk to me about it? But then I started to put things together. I didn't know encouragement was a gift. And I realized that the reason people would come and talk to me is because afterwards they would feel stronger. They would feel strengthened. Like, they would feel like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, they felt better. And I didn't realize that was a gift,
Absolutely.
And so I just started spending more time honing that gift and applying that gift to all the different areas of my life. So one of my first talents is music. So I'm like classically trained in like opera music, like released 2 albums, did all of that, And then I was like, cool, I can do whatever I want to do. I also have this interest in like helping entrepreneurs start businesses. But what I realized is that calling, encouragement, could be in every field. I could use my music to encourage. I can encourage entrepreneurs. Like, sometimes we feel like, okay, I get one path. That's it. If I'm a lawyer, that's all I got to do. If I'm an accountant, that's it. And it's like, that's absolutely not it. That is a skill. That's a talent, but that's not necessarily the gifting, the calling, And once I realized that my gifting and my calling was around encouragement, I could take that thing and I could apply it to any industry, which then I allowed myself to change my mind. Because right now I'm in small business development, but girl, if I want to go bake cakes, guess what? All my cakes gonna have some encouraging messages on there. Every time you eat, you gonna feel better, right? And so it's like once you know what the calling is, you can do anything. You know what I'm saying? You don't feel like I have to only do this, because society will make you feel like you get one option. And if you change your mind, you're crazy. You're all over the place. Am I? Or, you know what I mean? Or all of you just kind of like a cog in a wheel, like you just doing whatever. Like, you actually hate your life. Like, you don't even like what you do, but you make me feel bad because I'm free, because I understand that as long as I'm grounded in my calling, right, which is encouraging, I can apply that anywhere. Long-winded moment. Like, even when you think about athletes, right? Like you have athletes from the time that they're little kids, they're in little league, they're doing all these things, and they train their whole life to get to the NFL. But there's a timeline on the time limit on the NFL, right? Like you can only do so much. It's a very hard game on your body.
Right.
So what happens after 33 when you're considered an elder in the game of football? Is your life over? No, that was a skill. But sir, you actually may be very gifted in teaching. So you could be a coach, you could be a professor, you could like, you know, like I think sometimes we get the talent and the calling part mixed up. And so then you have people going to like depression. I don't know my purpose. I don't know what I'm meant to do. And purpose is not a thing to do. It is a thing that you are, right? It is who you are, you know, and I think that like it's important for us to be able to delineate that so we don't get sidetracked on this journey. That was like such a long answer.
I mean,
but yeah,
it was beautiful. I could feel, no, I'm serious. I can promise you the amount of people that are going to feel called out by that and resonate with that, because so many people are afraid to take that journey because of, you know, the capitalistic hellscape that we do live in really does say that like, this is how you make money and this is the way to do it. But then people, you know, tend to have that midlife crisis about 40, 50, once you start to realize, oh shit, I'm gonna die. And this is like, you know, very real, like very real moment in our experience. And typically because at that age, right, our parents start to pass away and other sorts of stuff, we see that. And so you have that moment and you're like, is this it? Is this my life? This 9 to 5 working in a cubicle, faxing this paper is my purpose?
Yeah. I mean, it can get testy. But one thing I've been talking about too is the way, and now I'm like speaking from a place of like maybe ignorance, right? Because I'm not at the midlife point yet, but I do believe that I have enough wisdom to know how to prepare. I think the way you avoid that midlife crisis, you have to have a vision for your life. I don't think enough of us have a vision for where we want to go. Like, and a vision is not like, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is my New Year's resolution for a year. I'm talking about, you know, I heard this one time and it was so transformational for me. People they overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in 10 years. So instead of doing I'm 1 year, no, let's talk about decades. Let's plan your life in decades. So by the time you get to 40, you know exactly where you want to be. So if you got to break up that decade into 3 years, right? 3-year sprints. This 3 years, I'm going to accomplish this. 3 years, I'm going to do this. So by the time I get to year 9, I'm here and I'm getting ready to hit 40. I got one more. I'm able to track that better. So I don't think a lot of us have a vision for our life. Because we're so short-sighted, we're just trying to get through the day. We're trying to get through the year. We're trying to get through the month. But if you have a true vision for your life, it will impact how you wake up, what time you wake up, what you do, how you prioritize your time, who you're hanging with, what are your extracurricular activities, how much time am I spending watching Netflix, like how many books am I reading, how many podcasts, where are you going? You know, and I think that because we get so lost in, okay, I have to be this, I got to show up this way. We're not planning for our lives. We don't have a vision for ourselves. It's not big enough. I mean, think big. Scare yourself. Scare yourself. You know, like, and just because you scare yourself, it doesn't mean that it's impossible for you. But I was talking to my husband about it. I think once we set our intentions to something, everything else has to respond. You know, it's so crazy. So I'm like super big on that. There are certain people, especially like in this digital world, that are like mentors and friends in my head, right? And so I will be following somebody. I'm like, listen, I'm signed up to all the newsletters. I'm taking the course. I just love them. I love how they show up. I love the things that they offer. And I will say I'm gonna meet them. And literally, it's crazy. So it's multiple people. It's a lady named Bozeman St. John. Freaking love her. She's worked at Apple and Netflix and just all these different things. She's a powerhouse, right? I was like, yo, I have to meet this lady because she is bomb. She's in the corporate America, but I mean, she shows up authentically like herself, and it's inspiring. I was like, I gotta meet this lady, and so she just so happened to be like coming to Birmingham, and I made sure I dressed in yellow because I wanted her to see me in the audience, right? Yes. I spent all morning writing down my question because I knew they were gonna do a Q&A panel. Had my question ready. They got ready to do the Q&A panel, and then it was like, "Oh, time's up. We can't do it." I'm freaking out. Right? I'm like, "Oh no. I'm going to meet this lady today." So literally, I go in I have a little badge on, and this gonna sound crazy. Don't judge me. So I have this badge on, and I realize that there's a back door right there, right? And so I walk, but it's where media is going. So I walk back there, and I walk in like I belong there because I do.
Yes.
And so I walk in, and like they're like, "Hey, are you with media?" I'm like, yes, I'm with ASL Media Group. Like this on the spot. And they're like, oh, "Okay, cool, stay." And literally, like she walks out, and I'm like, "Girl, I'm like having this whole conversation with her." But it's like these things are drawn to me. It's another guy. His name is Humble. He is like he's a financial advisor, analyst, but he does so much like in the industry. And one morning, I was like, man, I'm gonna just watch his YouTube video. Now, mind you, he's in LA. I'm in Birmingham. He's in LA. I'm up watching his YouTube videos. My husband comes home. He's like, "Hey, you want to go to lunch with me?" I'm like, "I can't make it. I got another meeting, but I'll meet you later." Listen, I'm not lying to you. An hour later, he's FaceTiming. My husband's FaceTiming me. And I'm like, what? And he's FaceTiming me with this guy, like Humble. I'm like, what in the whole, what's happening? What? He was like, so he has a client in Huntsville, and he drives through Birmingham to get something to eat at one of our favorite restaurants. And he just so happened to be here this day. I was watching this man on YouTube that morning. He lives in LA. What are the odds of him being in Birmingham? You know what I'm saying? And so now I'm pissed, right? Because I'm like, I was supposed to go with you to lunch. But the guy gets on FaceTime and he's like, "Hello." I'm like, "You don't even understand. Like, I've been studying you for the last week. I literally was watching your YouTube videos this morning, and you are freaking in Birmingham." Like, I feel like when we set our intention, things just have to work for us. But the problem is a lot of us are not moving. That we're not going anywhere. So we're not magnetic. Right? Like when things are magnetized, it's something attracting it. You're not moving. You know what I'm saying? The things that you really desire, they can't get to you because you are in a stagnant place. And even when we think about stagnant water, like it's no good. You know what I'm saying? Stagnant water is no good. But the reason why wind is so important is because it moves water along, and it moves it from shore to shore. Then it feeds into bigger oceans and lakes and all. Then these type of fish come, and these kind of coral reef. Like it's a constant flow. We're not in flow. We're afraid. But once you just move, I promise you and guarantee you, like it's like everything has to come and it has to work. But we're not moving. We're so afraid. Yeah. But what would happen if you weren't afraid to fail? Your life would change, you know? So
exactly. That line alone, what would you do if you weren't afraid to fail? I think like if people really simmered in that and thought about that, and then kind of like you were talking about earlier, like we really need that vision of where we want to go in the next couple of decades. You know, it doesn't have to be like strict, hard path, you know, with complete walls here, because the reality is life's going to throw you so many unknown things that you can't even predict. So like we hold some permeability here, but like having that vision of where you're wanting to go is so important.
You know, to your point, I write stuff down all the time. I have my decade plan, but what I have to do is I go back and I change it. I'm like, oh, I wanted that, but no. I think I want to do this. But at least I have a plan. You know, at least I have something to alter. You know, and then when opportunities come, it's not like, that sounds cool. It's like, oh, no. This will be good for that thing that I said I wanted to do. But a lot of times we don't even know what to do with the opportunity because we don't have a plan. Yeah. So there'll be things that are constantly passing us by, but we're missing out on those like moments of magnitude because we don't have a plan. We have it solidified in our mind that this is where we're going and this is what we want, and that we've chosen that I will be unafraid to at least try the thing. And guess what? If it doesn't work, it don't work. You still survive. No one's coming to like take you. You're not going to be locked away in a dungeon. You get an opportunity to try again. You know, like that's the only thing that happens is you just get another chance.
Absolutely. You know? And dare I say you come out wiser because now you know what didn't work. So now you're like, okay, well, I won't do that again. I am now more educated in my opportunities here of what's going to work for me.
For sure. In anything, when you think of any like innovative transformational product or business or whatever that has happened, like it has iterated so many times. Think about the very first iPhone. Like, girl, that thing was like this
Yes.
big, you know what I'm saying? Like, it didn't have those features, but guess what they kept doing? They kept iterating, kept updating, kept making us pay $2,000. And guess what we did? We stood in line to pay another $2,000, right?
Mm-hmm.
Over time. Think about, like, Apple Music was the iPod. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yes.
Like, you know, like
Yes.
that's what that was. But now
Yeah.
it doesn't, like, a physical device doesn't even exist. But they had to get the idea into the marketplace, right? They got it out there, they tinker with it, and it was like, oh shoot. And times are changing. People are stealing music off the internet. Okay, wait. We gotta do this. Okay, wait. No.
Yes.
Like, now people are streaming. Okay,
Yes.
but they got the idea out there. They try and they continue to perfect it. But it wasn't ever gonna start out as Apple Music. You know,
Exactly.
it never was
Exactly.
gonna start there. It was gonna get there. And even the Apple
Mm-hmm.
Music we know today is not gonna be the same, right?
Right.
Because we're all gonna probably be living in the metaverse.
Yeah.
So you know what I'm
Yes.
saying? You know, like, but what I'm saying is, like, the vision that you see, it might not, and I'm talking to myself now too.
Same.
But
Yeah.
the thing that you might start out with, it's not gonna look like the vision, but you have to get the thing out there and allow it to live, to breathe. Even when you think about kids, right? Like, we all start out like this weird looking kind of embryo thing. You know what I'm saying? Like a little leapfrog or whatever,
Sure.
tadpole.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then we evolve, right? And then we come out as kids and we think I used to think I want to be a veterinarian until I accidentally kill all of my goldfish. I realized, well, maybe that's not my ministry. You know what I'm saying? Like, we
Yes.
evolve. Like, if we
Yes.
give people the opportunity to evolve, and we let companies evolve, and we actually give them money while they're evolving, I mean, isn't that such a disservice? We won't do that for ourselves. Like, that's not
Mm-hmm.
fair. That's not fair.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not fair.
Absolutely, because we're waiting for perfection. We are
Right.
waiting for that moment where everything's right, where it feels like this is it, and it's my time. But the reality is there is no perfect moment, you know? And one of the quotes I always have is progress over perfection. Just put it out there, just try it, and you will get better through practice.
For sure, for sure. I totally agree. Like, you hear like there's no perfect moment all the time, but I don't think that we realize that. And it might require a little bit more of you in that season, but you're gonna survive. Like, for myself right now, like being in the small business development, like economic development space, I saw that there was a need to kind of have more spaces for entrepreneurs to, like, really, really work and to really feel a sense of community, like, for
Mhm.
real, like, not
Mhm.
just a part of your
Mhm.
marketing, but when you walk in, you can feel it.
Right.
And so I'm like, listen, I just had a kid 6 months ago. Like, I do all these different things, but girl, I'm up in this building right now. I'm painting. I'm doing this. I got a walker in here. I got baby toys. Listen, baby, you gonna sit right there while mommy paint these walls. Like, there is no perfect. It'll never be a perfect opportunity.
Right.
As an adult, you're always going to be tired. Like, you know what I mean? It's always gonna be something to do. Like, you're always gonna be figuring out, what am I gonna eat today? Like,
Yes.
nothing. There will never be a perfect moment.
Mm.
But you don't want to look back, and you don't want to be one of those people who are like, well, I would have done this. I had this. I That makes my soul itch. Like, you know what I mean? To
Yes.
think that I could talk in past tense about things that were passionate to me.
Mm.
Like, what a waste of time. What a waste.
Absolutely.
What a waste.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, to look back on your life and wonder if you would have tried, if you would have taken that leap of faith, if you would have put yourself out there, would you have lived a life that you enjoyed even more?
And a lot of what we do is connected to other people, right?
Mm.
Like, people are literally waiting on us to fulfill a part of our destiny, which then unlocks something for them. Now, it's going to get done either way, but don't you want to be in position to do what you're supposed to do? Like, so a lot of different things are connected to our obedience to the purpose, our obedience to
Yeah.
the call, our obedience to the vision. When I had an opportunity to tour in Spain, we were over there and we were singing in these different venues, and most people didn't even like speak English, right? And so, but it was so cool because music is just universal in that
Yes.
way. And so there was a little girl, but other countries outside of America are very serious about learning how to speak English. We're the only people who are like, nope, English is my only language. Like, but anyway, so one of the moms over there, she spoke English, and she's like, my daughter, she wants to be a gospel singer. So this is like, we're in Barcelona. It's like a little girl in Barcelona who wants to sing gospel. It was like, really? And so, in that moment, I was like, you know what? I'm going to, during my portion of this concert, I'm going to invite the little girl on stage, So I'm singing. I'm like, hey, I can't remember the baby's name now, but I'm like, hey, is she like, come on stage? And the girl, the little girl, she's up there and she's singing and etc. And it was like a great moment. And after the concert, her mom, she found us in the lobby and she was like, you don't even realize how you changed her life. Like something that you just consider like, oh yeah. It was life changing for that young lady. Absolutely. And so it's just like, if I wasn't there, if I wasn't singing, if I wasn't in tune, I would have missed the moment. For now, this young lady at 8 years old, it unlocked something for her, right? Like people are literally waiting on you to just be in position, to be in flow. So a lot of what we're doing is connected to other folks as well. So it's not even all about us. It's not about us.
Yeah, and there's your calling right there, right? Encouragement, bringing the little girl on stage and encouraging her to sing in front of a whole crowd.
And to this moment, I didn't even think about it like that. But again, if we look at it like our calling can show up anywhere. Like it's so crazy. I had a moment a couple weeks ago. Like, as an adulting is hard, momming is hard, being in a marriage, a relationship, it's just hard. Like it's just, nobody told us that the grown-up world was like this crazy. But I had a moment, I was just driving and I felt so fulfilled. I was like, you know what? I am walking in my purpose. Not because of a title, not because of some magazine article, but because there were 3 people that day that I had the opportunity to talk to, and they were like, I never thought about it like that. Okay, I'm gonna try it. Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna let you know how it goes. After I talked to you, I started my website. And mind you, I'm just having random conversations, but I felt this sense of fulfillment and gratitude because it's like, that's it. It's not a title. It's not a salary. This is not an accolade. It's not an acknowledgement. How are you showing up every day and just serving, serving, you know what I mean? And utilizing that thing that you're called to give to the world, and to your world, to the people around you. Because sometimes when you say world, it's like, well, I don't know if everybody wants it, but it's like your world. Who's in proximity to you? Yes. Are you changing them? Are you showing up in that way? So
yes. Because sometimes when we think about the whole world, like the ability to change the whole world might not even be possible, right? It's focusing back down to your community, right? You change that one person there on a personal level that is meaningful, and then what happens is they change, and then guess what? They change other people, and it's that sort of ripple effect that is so beautiful and can reach so far.
We're all seeds. Like we're seeds, like little seedlings, like somebody has done something. We're just all kind of like little seedlings of different trees and different things that people have said. And so, I think, we have an opportunity to plant that seed and just help somebody. And it's crazy because you can have conversations with people and you don't even realize how transformational it is. And so, yeah, I think we all have the opportunity to not try to just change the world, but change our world, and I think that there's power in that.
Absolutely, 100%. I'm thinking about the person that is hearing all of this and totally resonates with it, but then comes back and says, but I don't know what my purpose is.
That's good. I think that it's important for us to spend time with ourselves. Spend time with ourselves, but pay more attention to what you do. Like I said, I didn't realize encouragement was a thing. I heard somebody say it and it was like, And then I went to go try to find out more information. And then I thought about my life, like, well, where am I always showing up? What are the things that come easiest to me? Like, what are just things like I'm not even trying to do? Like, I'm literally just being, because that's what purpose is. It's about the being. It's not the doing. So like, what like in your being, are you the one who always is like starting conversations with people and it sparks like all this intellectual like debate or whatever the case may be? Like, wow, okay, so my purpose is not to be a professor, but maybe it's to facilitate these environments. And I can do that in any way. So maybe I could start a company called TED Talk. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, it's the being. So just pay attention to your being, because sometimes it's even creating things, right? Like in artistry, like man, when I have a paintbrush in my hand, I just create all these different things, right? It's the
Yes.
being. You are a creator. So maybe that you could be a painter. Maybe it's in fashion. Maybe
Mm.
it like that can show up. So I would say pay attention to your being. What is just natural to you? Like people love being around you. Like, and you love
Mhm.
having people over, right? Hospitality is actually a gifting.
Yeah.
Like that's hospitality is a gifting, right? So now I'm gonna become. I'm now. Oops, my name is Martha Stewart. You know what I'm saying? Like
Ex
that's what I'm saying. Like that's a gifting. And so people like
Mhm.
capitalism will try to tell you that you can only make money out of so many different things, right? Like
Right.
you got to be an attorney, you got to be a banker, you got to be a CEO. But like using Martha Stewart as an example, right? Like she was like, I love hospitality. I love listen, NASA's got towels and cakes, and, you like don't limit yourself and feel like, oh, my purpose has to be attached to millions of dollars. The
Yeah.
reality is if you're in flow with the being and you're producing out of that being, like prosperity and all the things you need, they're going to find you. They're going
Mm.
to attach themselves to you, right? But if you kind of attach, my purpose has to be connected to all this money, and now it's so much noise, girl, because everybody, of course, created child. Everybody sells stock, girl. Everybody in crypto. So people are
Yeah.
doing all these different things. Now, there's nothing wrong with finding multiple streams of income in the world that we live in. There's nothing
Yes.
wrong with that. But that's not the being, that's the
Mm.
doing.
Mm.
So maybe with you getting all of this extra income, you have access to do more of what? To
Exactly.
be more of what? To serve in
Mhm.
more of what capacity, you know? So
Mhm.
I would say to the person who's like, that sounds amazing. I'm feeling fired up. This is resonating with me, but I still feel lost. Spend time with yourself and pay attention to the being. What comes natural to you? What do people always ask you to do? How do you find yourself showing up in ways that you don't
Yep.
even realize, right?
Yep.
Pay attention to that. And then when you pay attention to the being, then pay attention to the gifting. What am I skilled at? And then you can utilize that being in those giftings. So I'll give an example.
Yeah.
Again, like I'm a woman of faith, right? And so I
Mhm.
remember like when I first moved to Birmingham from Atlanta, I was like, oh my God, I don't really know about this here. It's a little different. And
Sure.
I was praying, and I got this feeling, and it came over me, and it was very clear in my mind. It was like, listen, your gifting, right? Your skills are singing and teaching,
Mm.
but your calling is to use those gifts to empower and to uplift my people, right? So your gifting is singing because I'm a singer,
Right.
and your gifting is to teach because whenever I get into rooms and I start talking to people, they listen. Like so you are gifted. You naturally are gifted at like singing and teaching. That's a thing, right? But who you are is to use those things to empower and to uplift. So
Mhm.
your purpose is to empower and to uplift. If
Mm.
everything you're doing is pointing you to empowering and to uplifting people, you are walking in purpose.
Mm.
And be
Mhm.
satisfied with that. And I find fulfillment in that.
Yes.
Anytime I'm in a conversation in the room, I'm empowering, I'm uplifting. That's it.
Mm.
I'm in purpose. That's my being. But the
Yes.
cool thing is I also have some skills. I can sing. So when I'm singing, I need to make sure my music is doing just that. It's empowering, it's uplifting people, right? When
Absolutely.
I'm teaching and I'm in these rooms, I need to make sure anytime I open my mouth and I'm teaching something, it's empowering, it's uplifting.
Yeah.
So we have a gifting, and then we have a calling, and they can be wrapped
Sure.
up together that way. Hopefully that makes sense. But
Oh,
pay
it
attention
does. Yeah.
to the being. Yeah, to the being.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the things that, yeah, all of your friends come to you for help with or
Mhm.
see you as. That is the sort of thing when you sit in that silence and reflect on what your, gifts and purpose might be. It's those sorts of things that come up naturally. And I love how
Mhm.
you talked about how it doesn't fit into like a box, right? You mentioned people like Martha Stewart or TED Talk, it's not like it's just these one things. You can incorporate kind of like you do multiple aspects of your skills to make a calling that is unique to you. You don't have to just try and fit someone else's box.
Yeah, I think too. Like it's so noisy out there right now. Like we're constantly trying to mirror and become
Yeah.
who whatever it is. You got an influencer. So I'm gonna be like an influencer. But that's not you though. That's them. You know what I'm saying? Be you. And so I think we kind of feel like we have to show up like only can only show up like this. Everybody looks the same. Their body's the same. Their hair is the
Mhm.
same. The makeup's the
Mhm.
same. But it's okay to stand out. And that's where the impact is. The impact is you are okay with standing out and doing something that is unique to you. And when you really find yourself in the silence and you become aware of that, man, your mind will open up and the opportunities and the things that you create will open up because you're not looking for it to look like somebody else's or to
Yes.
sound like somebody else's.
Yes.
Like you're okay with being yourself. Like you are more than enough. Just as you are. Actually, the world needs you as you are.
Yes.
We need you just like that because other people need to see, okay, it's okay for me to show up like myself. I was having a conversation with someone and they was like, man, it's so interesting because no matter what room you in, you talk the same. You show up the same exact way.
Yes.
I don't care who you are. It's like, hey girl, what's going on? How you doing?
Yeah.
Like, but that's what I'm okay with myself because I understand that the more free I am, people begin to become free in the conversation. Because it's like, okay, cool. Well, you're being yourself. You're not presenting a certain way.
Yes.
You are showing up authentically.
Yep.
Well, I can show up authentically too. Now we can have a real relationship. We can have a real conversation because it's not two people trying to be what they think the other one thinks they should be, the world needs you exactly how you are. Like, because there's a group of people that are looking for you just like that. They don't want you to show up any other way. They don't want you to be like anybody else. They want you to be Nicole. They want you to be Alycia. They want you to be whoever I need you just like that because then it shows me and gives me the freedom to show up as myself as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It creates that space. It's the chemistry and the dynamics of relationships. When you show up like that, it allows other people to let down their guards and then show up in the same way, 100%. And this even goes back to what we started talking about earlier, the ways that being around other people, being with mirrors, it will change how you see yourself and how you equally show up.
So I think, that's what we give to people. We give the gift of freedom when we give the gift to ourselves first.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think it's funny the timing of this conversation because I just recorded in my own journey, right? This guided masturbation meditation.
Okay.
I know, hear me out. So
hear me out. Okay.
Yes, because out of all the episodes that I had recorded on the podcast, like I had a snippet with someone else who did a little piece of one, and that was the most played episode. The most played. Got currently has 23,000 views on YouTube. And I'm just wow. What the hell? Like, well, people want this? People need this? And I had this moment where I was like, someone should do more of these. Someone who has a yoga, mental health background could help people feel more comfortable and let go of shame. And I was like, Nicole, you're a sex coach that teaches yoga and is becoming a psychologist. That's you. Wait, hold on.
Yeah. You're talking to yourself.
Exactly. But then I was like, I don't know. Who am I to do this? What is that? And I finally had to have that moment where I was like, no, you're going to do it. And because of your I came from a very Christian background that had a ton of shame. I'm also a sexual assault survivor. So touch, all these sorts of pieces where me showing up as my full self and the journey that is that and becoming comfortable with that is helping other people who are in that same space and need someone like that.
For sure. And that's an interesting question. We always ask ourselves, who am I?
Yeah,
it's exactly who you are. And talk, when that question comes up, talk back to yourself. When you say, who am I am a professional. I am an expert. I am someone who shows up and I change the atmosphere. Who am I am a world-renowned ... whatever that is for you. You have to start talking to those things. When shame and guilt comes in, talk to that thing. Absolutely. Tell that thing to shut it down. Even for myself, when I first started this journey of opening up a physical brick and mortar space, I'm like, listen, I got a 3-month-old baby crying in the background. I'm tired. I'm breastfeeding. I got to go home. I got 2 other kids. I am tired. And the whole time in my mind, it's who are you to think that you could do this? It's actually, I'm the perfect person.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? I'm the person that's going to show people, despite all odds, get it done. You can do it. Your dream is valid. It deserves to be in the world, regardless of whatever external circumstances try to hinder you. So you have to really start talking back to those things. There can be no more shame and guilt around anything, because that's going to stop us from living our lives to the maximum potential, 100%. And again, it goes back to that victim mentality. I'm not going to let my environment, my circumstances, nothing's going to victimize me. Nothing's going to victimize me. I'm going to take that power back from it, because the things that came and that were meant for harm, I'm going to turn that bad boy around. Like, you're
Absolutely.
not gonna have no power over me. This is
Mm-hmm.
my life. This is my
Yes.
life, and I get to determine what my story. The only person who can write my story is me. Period. You know what I mean? And the moment that I give somebody that power is the moment that I let myself down. And I refuse to let me down.
Mm.
Other
Yes.
people can try to come and try to hurt me, but I'm gonna treat myself right. I'm not gonna let me down. Other people can
Absolutely.
disappoint me, but I'm not gonna disappoint myself. I'm gonna
Mhm.
protect myself. I'm gonna protect my inner child. I'm gonna protect my adult womanhood. I am going to protect myself. So
Yes.
when those thoughts come, hey thought, shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like, listen,
Mm-hmm.
you have no power over here. Like, no. We're not doing that. So you have to, because even the most confident person, you're going to teeter on some doubt and some anxiety. Because when, I heard somebody say at one time, like, with imposter syndrome, it's like, technically, we're all kind of imposters. We're all doing stuff we never did before. Get over it.
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, girl, we had a whole person in office who had never been president.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, we have people doing things every day that they've never done before. So in a sense, yeah, you're right. Like, we ain't never did it before. But guess what? You can do it, because people who had never done it before, they're still trying. They're still figuring out. Back to that Apple example,
Yep.
right? And so it's just like, hey, talk to those things. Like, don't let them live in your mind and take up space and become your roommate. You got to get out. Like, you didn't even pay your part of the rent. Get out.
Right.
So
100%. Yeah.
yeah,
And
girl.
those thoughts, yeah, are gonna come I love hearing from like people that, people I admire, hearing that they struggle with that. I think it's so meaningful to hear that, like, yeah, this is just a part of the human existence, those moments of doubt, and like understanding that our brain's trying to protect us. So it is going into survival mode and saying that won't be a safe route. Like, let me tell you, you shouldn't do this. So it's like, I hear you, brain. You were trying to protect me, but also you're wrong. And like having that practice of regrounding. What I've done too is like make a non-formal resume, right, of all the badass shit that I've already done. So that when that happens, I'm like, look at, you've done this, you've
Yep,
done
yep,
that, and maybe one day that
yep,
will be my real resume if I continue
yeah,
to merge all of my, things,
yep.
a full integrated life in this world. But yeah, having that moment to like reground yourself in all the stuff that you've already accomplished to get to where you're at, because I'm sure there's a long list of things. And I feel like a meaningful practice that at least I try to do, and I would want to invite more people to do, is like even creating like a mantra of some sorts of like whatever it is that you're aspiring to be. Like, I am a professional podcaster. And
That's it.
I dare you to try and say that to yourself every morning for at least a week and see how you feel about yourself after a week, whatever your call
Totally
is.
agree. I totally agree. Yeah. Speak the life that you want, not necessarily what you have, speak to your future, speak to yourself, speak to your mind. And to your point, like, your life will it will start to take hold of what you say.
Yes,
Because
it will.
words have life. Yeah, words have life, they have power. And so
Absolutely.
the beautiful thing is we get to shape it by what we say. So don't talk so bad to yourself.
Absolutely, absolutely. This has been such a powerful message. I've felt all of your energy, and it's resonated with so much of me personally. So thank you so much for bringing all of this.
Of
Yeah.
course, of course. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. I want to hold a little bit of space as we come to the end in case there was anything else that you really wanted to talk about that maybe we didn't hit here. Otherwise, I have a closing question I ask everyone on the podcast.
Nope, I'm good. I'm ready for the
All right.
closing
Hell
question.
yeah. Okay. So the question is, what is one thing that you wish other people knew was more normal? And take your time, take your
Mm,
time.
I think it kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is that you have the right to change your mind. And once you've done something, if you realize you don't like it anymore, it doesn't serve you, guess what? I don't want to do it no more. Next. You
Hmm.
have the right to change your mind.
Yes. Yes, yes.
Yeah. I think that's important for us to know, because we get stuck feeling like we have to, like we said earlier, show up in these certain roles and these certain positions and these certain titles, show up a certain way. I can change my mind. What you
Mm-hmm.
gonna do? Get out of my face. Leave me alone. I changed my mind. I don't want to do it no more. You know what I'm saying? And that's okay.
Absolutely.
And that's okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I'd heard a metaphor before about someone talking about like when you purchase a beer, you're purchasing the opportunity to drink it. You're not forcing yourself to drink it. If you take a few sips of it and you don't like it, there is no use in continuing to force yourself down an experience that you don't like. And it's okay
Mhm.
to try things. I mean, and that's
Mhm.
the problem with the whole like beginning of, the conversation
Yeah.
of needing to know where you're going to go for the rest of your life at like 18 when you start to go to college. Because the reality is
Mhm.
you're probably going to try a couple different beers and be like, yeah, that's not for me. And
For
that's
sure.
okay. That's
Yeah.
okay.
It's totally okay. Yeah. So some people don't know what should be normalized, having the right to change your mind, to pivot, and to try and do something new, regardless of the age, regardless of how many responsibilities you have. And of course, we want to be mindful of what we have to do, right? But you still can have tons of responsibilities and things to do, and still say, you know what, I want to try something else, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So we give people
Absolutely.
the option to change.
Yes, yes, yes. It's very powerful. Yeah, I can feel so much of your being resonating with everything that you're saying and the way that it pours out of you. It is truly such a gift to hear you speak.
Thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you. Thank you.
of
Thank you. I
course.
appreciate it. Thank you for having me. I really enjoyed our time
Yeah,
together.
yeah, absolutely. Is there anywhere that you would want to plug for people to find your music, to connect with
Yeah.
you and
Yeah,
learn
for
more?
sure, for sure. So they can find me. So my website is Alycia Alycia Levels Levels.com. And so there's some music there. I did an album called More Fight in partnership with the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. So it's music that just lifts you up, that makes you feel hopeful, that just kind of gives you more encouragement to keep fighting. And so you can find the music there. But the album is also like on every musical outlet. It's called More Fight by Alycia Levels-Moore or Alycia Levels, either one. And also I'm on Instagram. I like Instagram, so you can find me at Instagram at A Levels. And there's information there about myself, about the co-working space that I'm opening up here in Birmingham as well. As a hub for people to kind of come and work and to build and create and have the freedom to try and fail and try again. So, yep.
Absolutely. And I wish you the best of luck with the endeavor of
Thank
opening up. I'm
you.
sure it's going to go so well.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
If you enjoyed today's episode, then leave us a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. And if you're a part of the Anarchist community, then follow us on Instagram or nominate a guest for the show by sending in a letter to modernanarchypodcast@gmail.com. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.